Our third inductee, ladies and gentlemen, John Costello. Well, Johnny boy, I suppose it brings a tear to your eye, does it?
It does indeed. Well, I try not to cry, but I'm very, very proud and honoured and humbled to be up here and have this accolade from my peers. And all I can say is I've had a marvellous time doing what I've done.
And we've appreciated what you've done too. Look, before we get into an interview, let's introduce your family to the audience.
Well, starting from the start, my granddaughter Steffi, my daughter Mandy, son Dominic, brother Dennis, representing our siblings, granddaughter Caitlin, and daughter Casey. And I'd just like to point over to my table over there if I could. I've got my two older sisters, two lovely ladies, and I'd like you to stand up, girls. Valerie is my oldest sister, and she's, am I allowed to say Val, coming up 90, and Moni's 87.
Oh, well done. Welcome along, ladies. Welcome along. John, for yourself, well, you didn't start off in racing, did you? You started off in another craft.
Well, it was journalism, but I left school and went straight into journalism down in Matamata, which is the little town that I was born in, and it was my first job out of school that I lived in Matamata. And when I got married, I went and freelanced in Matamata, so it's been a significant town to me. And I started, as I say, in general journalism. I went up to the Northern Advocate in Whangarei and stayed in general journalism. And when I married Mary Ann and we started producing a brood, I thought that we better get out of Whangarei, or I never will, and went back freelancing in Matamata and more racing, and I ended up full-time racing.
Some of your mentors, outstanding journalists of yesteryear, and names that some of us over the age of 60 would remember quite vividly, and no doubt you can recollect some of those good friends of yours as well.
Oh, for sure. Well, my first boss out of school was Frank Wilson. He was a controversial bloke, Franco, but very good to me and a good mentor. And after he got me the job at the Advocate, when I went to the Herald, there was Alan Brown, Pat Naden. They were the sort of generation older than I. Learned a lot from them. I didn't learn as much as I should from Mary Hewitt, our sub-editor. He was very good at cutting words down and superfluous stuff. I've always overwritten, and I still do. But
because you get paid by the word in those days.
Well, I was in those days, and Mary kept cutting my earnings in half by slashing my stories.
The sponsor tonight is the Blackwell family. Now, they have some synergy with you as well. They've
played a very important role. If I deserve to be up here at all, it's very much due to John and Janet Blackwell. They started a little company called Moa Publications, very innovative, and they published my first book, Galloping Greats, and every book I've written since, which is 11 racing annuals. The Linda's story, I see Linda here tonight. And then, of course, Tapestry of Turf, which was the opus, I suppose, that nearly killed me, nearly killed my poor old mate Pat Finnegan. But we got it finished, and it was worth it.
Labour of love, Tapestry of Turf. How long did it actually take?
I think it was about 4 years. If I'd been doing nothing else, but Tapestry of Turf, I probably would have, it would have been perhaps a year's work, but it was spread around, in and around earning a living, So it was a very long process. And I remember writing the last words and giving them to John Blackwell. And he said, right, now there's the index. And you can imagine you've written 750,000 words and you've got to index every horse that's mentioned, every person that's mentioned, on every page they're mentioned. And when I finished that, he said, right, now we've got to do the index for the standard edition because all the page numbers were different. I thought I was never going to get there.
One of those books you just touched on too, and Linda Jones' book. And look, back in those days when Linda was writing, when she was young, and it's great to see Linda here tonight too, you were fighting for the lady riders, and it must give you a tremendous satisfaction these days to see how many lady riders are doing so well, and 55% of apprentices these days are females. You must feel neat about that.
Well, you have to say, where would racing be without them? Racing couldn't have survived if they hadn't bitten the bullet, so to speak, and given the girls licences. But it's very interesting. I've just come back from Britain last year. They've hardly had a go over there right to this day, Australia, there was a big fuss about Michelle Payne riding the Melbourne Cup winner, and God bless her. but she was only the 4th woman to ride in the Melbourne Cup. And, you know, New Zealand has really led the way in that regard, and you can thank Linda and her friends for that.
Absolutely. Just before we let you go, John, best horse you ever saw and ever wrote about?
That is such a hard question. I would have said some years ago Balmerino without hesitation. Since then I've seen other great horses, you know, Occident, Octagonal, sorry, and many a good horse. But what about the great mares? You know, I always thought that Showgate was the best mare I'd seen, and she wasn't. She was until Sunline came along, and I think Sunline up to 1.25 miles was better. And then maybe Mackay Diva winning 3 Melbourne Cups. That'll never be done again. Not by a mare, not by anybody probably.
What's the next book, John?
I would like to have the mental energy to update Tapestry of Turf from 1988 up to the present, but some young fella might have to do that.
John Costello, he's an absolute hero, ladies and gentlemen, and a deserved inductee tonight.